Oh man, welcome in ladies and gentlemen to another edition of NBA Now from Chat Sports, and with you as always I'm your host Jimmy Crowther, breaking down all the latest news and rumors around the league. And last night we watched the NBA draft lottery go down. Now as you can see, the New Orleans Pelicans lucked out. They win the number 1 pick, meaning they get the rights to Zion Williamson. Number 2, we got the Memphis Grizzlies, and then of course the New York Knicks, who we'll be talking about today, got that number 3 pick. So what was your reaction? What was y'all's reaction when you saw the Knicks slipped to number 3? Because obviously everybody in New York wanted to see Zion Williamson in Madison Square Garden, but now they have this number 3 pick. What are they going to do with it? What was your reaction? Let me know in the comment section below. And now we're getting to players that I think the Knicks could target at number 3. But first of all, let's look at what their needs are. Knicks were 28th in the league in points per game scored as a team. So getting someone that can help them on the offensive end is going to be huge. Another thing they might need is an established point guard that they can bring in. They have Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr. Neither of them have really proven themselves as a starting caliber NBA point guard, so he could help. They could definitely look for a point guard here in the draft. 34% from 3 the New York Knicks were last season, which puts them at 28th in the league in three-point shooting. So bringing in some knockdown shooters from behind the three-point arc is going to be huge for New York. And then, if we're being honest, the New York Knicks just need talent. They absolutely need talent, and they're going to be looking for that at the number 3 spot, but also in free agency. But with that number 3 spot, let's take a look at our first guy who I think could land in New York, and that is the star point guard Ja Morant out of Murray State. He obviously is a premier athlete. He proved himself in the tournament against quality competition. For the season, averaged 24.5 points per game and 10 assists per game. The first ever Division I player to do that. Now, it's a pretty tough pill to swallow for the New York Knicks to land at 3, because that means they miss out on Zion, and they possibly even miss out on this guy in Ja Morant. But let's look at his strengths and his weaknesses and why he can make sense for the Knicks. Athleticism is the number 1 thing for Ja Morant. He has Russell Westbrook, John Wall, and Dennis Smith Jr. like athleticism. But the question with Morant becomes, which of those 3 point guards does he become? Is he more like Russ, more like John Wall, or does he turn into a Dennis Smith Jr. who still has time to prove himself, don't get me wrong, but you'd rather him be a John Wall or a Russell Westbrook. Now, number 2, playmaking ability. At 10 assists per game, that's incredible, but when you think about the players he was playing with at Murray State, he didn't have the talent that should be getting 10 assists per game, so he makes his teammates better, and I think he's going to be able to do that at the NBA level as well. Another strength of Ja Morant's is his on-ball defense. Now, he has a wiry frame. He's not going to be the biggest point guard or biggest guard on the court, but when he puts his mind to it and uses that athleticism on the ball, he's a pretty good defender. So those are his 3 strengths, but I also have 3 weaknesses that I want to look at with Ja Morant. And number 1 is his ball security. Now, as a point guard, ball security is really important. Like I said, he had those 10 assists per game at Murray State, but he also turned the ball over nearly 5 times per game, a little more than 5 times per game. So the 10 assists sort of make up for it, but 5 turnovers is not a pretty number. Now, shooting mechanics are also a bit of a problem. His elbows are a little wiry. It's a very inconsistent shot. It makes for a very slow release, which in the NBA is not going to work. You're going to get your shot swatted into the 3rd row of the stands. And then finally, I mentioned it with his on-ball defense, but his physical profile is not the most impressive. Like I said, he can make up for it with his athletic ability, but if you're small in the NBA, teams are going to try to switch him on to their best player, and they'll probably take advantage of that small frame that he has. But I want to know what you guys think. Where will Ja Morant go in the 2019 NBA draft? I'm predicting he goes number 2 to Memphis. I don't think they can pass up on him. But if he falls to New York, I think Knicks fans will be rejoicing in the streets. So, second guy I want to look at a little bit more realistic than Ja Morant here is RJ Barrett. In my opinion, he is absolutely the 3rd best player in this draft. 22.6 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, and 4.3 assists in his freshman season at Duke, obviously playing Robin to Zion Williamson's Batman. Let's look at his 3 strengths. Number 1 is his physical profile. At 6'7", with a 6'10" wingspan and a little over 200 pounds, he can be an ideal 2-guard or small forward in today's NBA. He can take advantage of smaller guards if he's playing the 2-guard, and he can overpower them and get to the rim, which brings me to his second strength, his rim finishing. He can finesse it around the rim. He's got a nice little Euro step. He's crafty as well, but he's also good at drawing contact. Now, he's going to have to learn how to shoot the free throw from the free throw line if he draws that contact, but I really like RJ Barrett's ability to finish around the rim. And then number 3 is his unselfishness. Like I said, he played Robin to Zion Williamson's Batman and did a great job of it. Now, 22.6 points per game doesn't seem like he's taking a back seat, but he really was, and he thrived in that role and didn't complain about it either. And that is something that NBA teams are going to love in their locker room and love on the court with RJ Barrett. So that's his 3 strengths. Obviously, I think his strengths outweigh his weaknesses, but we still need to look at what RJ Barrett lacks in. And number 1 is that offhand ability. He's a lefty, a natural lefty, and if he wants to go left, that's where he's going to try to go. He is not going to go right. If you force him right, you're going to force him into a tough situation or force him into a turnover. Barrett at times makes it seem like he's scared to go right, and he's going to have to get that figured out at the next level. With ball security comes his pull-up game. He can get into open space and he can get his shot from the mid-range, but he's not great at taking 1 or 2 dribbles and then pulling up. He wasn't in his freshman season at least, and if he's going to be a go-to scorer, which I don't think he will be in his first season, if he's going to be a go-to scorer, he's going to have to learn how to develop a pull-up game. Again, this all kind of ties back into that offhand ability, but number 3 is his ball security. He forces himself into tough situations. He forces himself into places where he does not need to be, and it forces him to turn the ball over or forces himself into tough shots. So those are my 3 strengths and weaknesses for RJ Barrett. But something I want to look at, because I think this is the most realistic player the Knicks could take in this draft, is what the Knicks could look like next year if they take him at 3. At point guard, they're picking up the star point guard in free agency, and that's Kyrie Irving at 23.8 points per game. Their 2 guard, RJ Barrett, you slide him in right away. And then the forwards, kind of interchangeable with Kevin Knox and Kevin Durant if they get Kevin Durant at the 3 and the 4 position. And then Mitchell Robinson, who had an outstanding rookie season at the center position, if they decide not to bring back DeAndre Jordan and have a veteran center starting there. This could be a pretty deadly lineup. That's 4 guys on the court that can get you a bucket at any time. But as Knicks fans, would you be happy if RJ Barrett went to New York? Would you be happy with him as your pick in New York? I think you should be, because he is by far at least the 3rd best player in this draft. And you have the 3rd pick, so it only makes sense to take him there. And the next player I want to look at, another Dookie, Cam Reddish. Now, another forward, 13.5 points per game. Only shot 33.3% from the 3-point line. He was supposed to be a knockdown shooter. Didn't really prove that at Duke, but apparently the New York Knicks love this guy. They think he could be an excellent NBA player. I've seen comps to Paul George. I'm not ready to go there with him yet, but rumors have been flying. People have been talking that the New York Knicks like Cam Reddish, so he could make sense here at 3. Look at his strengths. His upside is a big one. He's obviously 19 years old, as are most of the guys in the top tier of this draft. And he showed flashes of what he could do at Duke with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett at the helm of their offense. He took the back seat as the 3rd option on that team. Showed flashes. Like I said, only 33.3% from 3, where he was, which isn't bad. It's really not a bad 3-point percentage, but for a guy that was supposed to be knocked down, he didn't really show that. But along with upside, 3 and D potential. In this league, you cannot have enough 3 and D players, and that is exactly what Cam Reddish brings you. With a 7'1" wingspan at 6'8", he can defend some of the best players on the court and at the next level with that size. Just got to add some strength to that frame. Let's look at his 3rd strength, his ball handling, which is a bit overlooked because he didn't get to handle the ball a lot at Duke. Obviously, Barrett and Zion had the ball in their hands most of the time. But when Reddish was asked to go make a play, he could make that play, and he could dribble into open space with his ball handling ability. 3 strengths, let's look at his 3 weaknesses. Cam Reddish, number 1 is he avoids contact. And I think with his frame, it makes sense that he avoids this contact. But when he gets around the rim, which he can do with his ball handling ability, he's afraid to go in on traffic, and that's going to be really problematic at the next level. Like I mentioned, his biggest weakness is that he does avoid contact at the rim, but another big weakness for Cam Reddish was his coordination. Like I said, he didn't have the ball a lot in his hands, but when he did, sometimes he looked like Bambi on ice and was kind of slipping and falling all over the place. Maybe it's young, maybe he's still coming into his body, but you got to be coordinated at the next level, especially at 6'8", as a forward. Number 3, defensive discipline. He has all the potential, all the build, all the ability to become a great defensive player at the next level, but his biggest problem at Duke was that he wasn't very disciplined. He fell for pump fakes, he gambled in the passing lanes, and he fouled way too much for a guy that's defending perimeter players. Now, if New York takes Cam, it's based on his potential alone and not someone that they're going to look to build around right away. So we've talked about some of these potential guys for the New York Knicks to look at already, but I want to look at who the last 5 lottery picks were for the New York Knicks. 2008, starting in 2008 with Danilo Gallinari at the number 6 overall spot. Biggest thing about Gallinari was that he helped them get Melo to New York. 2009, Jordan Hill was selected at number 8. Never really did any damage in the NBA and only played 24 games with the New York Knicks. Kristaps Porzingis, who I know everyone in New York hates on, in 2015 at number 4, was a home run pick at the time. Now, obviously with the Dallas Mavericks after blowing out that ACL. And then 2017, Frank Ntilikina, the French point guard, who really hasn't had all the time to really show what he can do because of injury, but what he has shown hasn't been super impressive. And then 2018, the number 9 overall pick, Kevin Knox, came out hot. He came out hot after that draft. Going to be a nice player, I think, in the NBA. Now, guys, I want to make sure you guys are subscribed to Chat Sports on YouTube. Let's get Chat Sports to 100,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And if you're subscribed, that guarantees that you will not miss when we go live on June 20th for the NBA Draft. I'll be bringing you every single pick, first and second round, so make sure you're tuned in on June 20th and make sure you're subscribed to Chat Sports on YouTube. Next guy I want to look at, a bit of a sleeper here, DeAndre Hunter. I love DeAndre Hunter, and I think number 3 could be a little bit high, but let's look at why he could be the number 3 overall pick for the New York Knicks. His shooting. Shooting is what DeAndre Hunter does, and in this league, you can't have enough of it. He shot 43.8% from 3 at the University of Virginia, where he became a national champion. Now, number 2 is his defense. 3 plus D, 3 and D player. That's what you get with DeAndre Hunter. 6'7", 225 pounds with a 7'2" wingspan is absolutely ridiculous. He can guard 2 guards, he can guard small forwards, and he can guard power forwards, all at the next level. You saw that he shut down Jarrett Culver, who's likely also going to be a top 5 pick in this draft. And number 3, his shot creation. Now, freshman year, not so great at UVA, but he really proved that 1 or 2 dribbles in and he can create his own shot from the mid-range. I love DeAndre Hunter. I'm super high on him, maybe a little higher than most people, but as you can see, 3-point shooting and defense, that's the whole reason DeAndre Hunter would go number 3 to the New York Knicks. Now, his weaknesses, his handles. He's not a great ball handler. He's not a guy that you can give the ball and say, hey, go get me a bucket. Go score. Go make this basket yourself. He's more of a spot-up shooter. Like I said, he can get into space with a 1 or 2 dribble pull-up, but his ball handling is not a strength of his. Number 2, his athleticism. He's not unathletic. Most basketball players are not unathletic, but he's going to get blown by some quicker players at the next level, and he's not going to be a huge rim protector. Shot blocking is another weakness for DeAndre Hunter. He probably can play the power forward position at the next level, but you're going to want to make sure that you have a rim protector behind him like Mitchell Robinson, maybe like DeAndre Jordan, but DeAndre Hunter here could be a great pick. But I want to know who you want the Knicks to draft in the 2019 NBA draft. I think it absolutely has to be RJ Barrett. You have to take the 3rd best player available if Ja Morant is not there. If Ja Morant's there, take him. Absolutely take him. But if he's not, RJ Barrett could be a great pick for the New York Knicks. Guys, thank you for tuning in to NBA Now from Chat Sports. Again, make sure you subscribe to Chat Sports on YouTube and you follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Crowther 3. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.